Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now we have a 2002 Toyota Yaris, or Yaris even, this one is. And as we start it, you can see the airbag light stays on. Now sometimes it flashes, like it's flashing now actually. So there we go, it's actually flashing. Right. Now this car has been to Toyota, and apparently Toyota have said the woman needs 2 new seatbelts, needs airbags, needs modules, needs basically everything. It's not worth fixing. It's going to be, stupidly expensive. Yeah. And obviously she said, well, I'm not going to do that. So she bought it to me. So we're going to see if we can see what's wrong. Now, I'm going to show you some very, very easy and simple test methods on airbags. People say you can't test airbags with multimeters. You can. Airbags are very safe. When you disconnect anything from an airbag system, there's 2 pins that come down and short it out. For you to set an airbag off, you're going to have to pull them 2 pins off and put voltage to it. And if you do that, well, then you deserve an airbag in your face. I mean, it's as simple as that. Natural selection and all that. They are very, very safe to work on. We're also going to show you how to trick the car into thinking you've got an airbag. So what I'm going to do, regardless of the fault, we're going to plug it in first, but I'm just going to disconnect the clock spring here. I'll show you that, and I will show you how to basically, without taking this off, how we can see, do we basically have a clock spring issue or an airbag issue. Now, there's 2 potential problems we could have in the steering wheel: airbag or clock spring. And we can basically test the wiring harness under here. Now if we test it and it's fine, we obviously you can't be 100% sure without taking the airbag off if it's a clock spring or not, but you're going to get the idea. So then what we're going to do is, well, let's plug it in and then actually see what error codes we get first. Right, this is what we're going to be using to test. We're going to be using our diag gun. We're going to be using our resistor here. This is a 2.6 ohm resistor. Now, this is essentially just a resistor. It's just kind of a posh one. It's molded into this case, but essentially all that's in there is a 2.6 ohm resistor. Now, you do have to know what systems you're working on, because they do change from the steering wheel to the seats and stuff like that in certain cars. So you need to know your system. And we're also going to be using a multimeter. Now, yes, the dreaded multimeter on airbag systems, it's just okay. So what do we have in this car? We have an airbag, we have a clock spring, we have a passenger side airbag, we're going to have 2 seatbelt igniters, and we are going to have 2 sensors at the front, plus obviously the ECU to control all that. So we could have, or even a wiring issue, we could have an issue with any one of them things, or even multiple ones. So let's plug the diag gun in and see exactly what comes up first. Right, so there's the error codes we've got in this particular car. Because it's quite old, I can't read each individual airbag readings. With the newer cars you can. Now with maybe the main Toyota dealer tool, you can go into each system and see exactly what ohms the airbag is, or the passenger's airbag, or the crash sensors, or whatever the case may be. But we can't do that in this case. We've got 2 current codes. Now you do also have to be careful. Toyota tend to have funny ways of explaining things sometimes. So as you can see, it does say right hand, short in potentiometer squid. Now, what that actually means in this particular case is this is the driver's side seatbelt issue. So that's where we really need to see first. But what I'm going to show you is, if you are unaware of the faults and basically what they mean, because you might be thinking, oh, right hand side, does this mean it's the airbag, it's the front airbag, or whatever? I'm going to just take off the cover under here, and I'm going to disconnect one of the sensors from the front, and I'm just going to show you that, the wording they use. And if you're unsure, what you can do is you turn off the car. I'll show you. We'll unplug this module here. So we'll unplug the clock spring from the car, and we'll see, does another error code come up? And we'll do one of the front sensors. Because if you're unsure what they are, now you do have to be careful. Don't, unplug them and plug them back in when the car is running and all that sort of stuff. But if we then pull out a sensor and no more codes come up, well then, if you're unsure what the wording means, you will actually know what sensor to go for. Now, like I said, I know what this is in this particular case, but we'll just go through a few things first. Right, so as you can see, I've just unplugged the front crash sensor, and we're just going to see what happens now. Right, as you can see, we've got a new code, front airbag sensor assembly. Now, front airbag sensor assembly, if you're unsure of these codes, people might be confused thinking, oh, this is the front airbag here, you know, because it's an airbag, and it's the driver's side, where no, it actually isn't. Because it also says right hand side, so you might think, oh, this is the front airbag assembly, right hand side, and the other one's the left hand side. No, this is the front crash sensor. So that's why I'm saying Toyota tend to have some weird wording sometimes, and you might be confused and start testing the wrong system. So that's a good way. Again, you have to be careful on your car. This is an older car. With newer cars, you not necessarily can do this. So you need to know your system before you just start unplugging stuff. But it just gives you a rough idea of kind of where to go for. Like I said, I, in this case, know exactly what's going on. But yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to plug that sensor back in. I'm going to take off the shroud under here. We're going to unplug the clock spring, and we're going to see what happens there. Right, so here's the clock spring connection. You have to push this out before this will come out. You have to actually slide that connection out. Now, what's actually happened inside there is there's two pins that have come across, and they've essentially shorted this. So this airbag can't go off unless you pull them two pins back and put voltage to it. And like I said, if you do that, you deserve an airbag in your boat. That's your face, by the way. So let's just go back into this and see what it says now. As you can see, it now says driver's squirt. So basically driver's squid now, which is this. So it does actually say drivers, but like I said, sometimes it just depends. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this and I'm going to plug this in to it. And this, I'm going to trick the car into thinking this is the airbag. So if you have this problem and I plug this 2.6 ohm resistor into here and that driver's one goes out, you then know you've got an issue with the clock spring or the actual airbag. But this saves you having to do all that stripping first. If this doesn't work, then you know you've got an issue with the wiring or possibly the module, something along them lines. So let me just get this in first and we'll see. Right, as you can see, this is now connected. So it's just connected in there. It's not connected to the car. So again, the car now thinks this is an airbag here. Obviously, this won't save your life in an accident, so don't try and put that on. I'll leave it on. Let's go into the fault codes now and see, does the driver's squid come out? And boom, there we go. The driver, so the car now thinks this is an airbag. So that will tell you straight away that you've got a problem with your airbag or your clock spring. The way you test your clock spring is you leave them two pins crossed out like that. You disconnect your airbag and you put your multimeter in place where the airbag was. And you just turn your wheel. Your resistance shouldn't change. If your resistance goes to open circuit and as you're turning your wheel it changes, then you know you've got an issue with your clock spring. And then also what you can do is you can check your airbag resistance, which I'm going to show you now in a few minutes. Well, it'll be a few minutes for me, but a few seconds for you. Oh, I can't wait to get more comments, people telling me what I'm doing wrong. What I'm going to essentially do is I'm just going to pull these pins back. I'm going to block these pins with two cable ties. Once I've done that, I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, so I've done that, and what I'm looking for on my meter is around 2.2 to 2.6 ohms, maybe a tiny little bit more. And so let me get this set up and we'll see what it just says. Right, as you can see, 2.3 ohms. I've got it, you just can't quite see, but I just got it connected there. 2.3 ohms. So I'm happy enough in knowing this airbag is absolutely fine. And oh, look, it didn't blow up. It's still here. So you can test it with multimeters. Oh, what a surprise. Right, this is the driver's side airbag, or the igniter. It pulls the seatbelt back if you're in an accident. Now, I know I'm going to get a few comments. Well, this is too dangerous. You can't do this. Well, you can, because I'm not testing the airbag here now for the minute. I'm just making sure. It's not an airbag, sorry, it's an igniter. But I'm just tricking the computer into thinking this is the igniter. Now, if the code goes off where this is in, then we know, boom, it's the igniter, because obviously it's a 2.0 resistance on that line. Now it's going all the way back to the computer, and the computer says, yeah, everything is fine. Boom, we know this is going to be the issue. And this isn't going to do any damage whatsoever to anything. So that's what we're going to do now. Now that's plugged in, let's see if, let's see what happens on the codes. Okay, so we've still got these codes in. If I go back out and just go clear memory, sometimes you have to clear the memory, sometimes you don't. Just depends on the car. The good sign is already the airbag light has gone off. So if we just press OK and then press recodes, boom, there we go. If I start the car, there we go. Boom. It's as easy as that. No problem whatsoever. So we've obviously got a high resistance in that igniter. Lovely. Right, again, here's where all the people start thumbs down and saying I'm doing it wrong and all this sort of stuff. I've got 2 cable ties in there and I've just pushed the pins back. Now, if you was to put power into this, yes, you're a fucking idiot. And no, the multimeter won't put enough power in to set this off, because I've already proven that with the airbag. And we're going to prove it again with the igniter. Right, I'm going to try and hold the cables and hold the camera and everything at the same time. As you can see, look, it's just open circuit, so the resistance is just basically infinite. So that's the issue. That's why the computer is actually reading that. So there we go, completely shorted inside the igniter. Lovely. Oh, and look at the dog hairs as well. Sorted. So with some very easy, simple tools, you know, resistors, scan tools, multimeters, you can test your airbag system and cable ties very, very safely and very, very quickly. I showed you the bits just so you know what to test and stuff like that. And there we go. So very, very quickly we realized what it was. Like I said, if you're unsure, you can kind of do what I do. Just be careful. You need to know your car. You need to know your system. Not all car systems works off the 2.6, especially for the seatbelt side of things. Some of them are slightly higher. So you need to know your car first before you start doing this, because not that you'd cause any damage, but if you put this 2.6 ohm resistor in and it wasn't high enough, or it's too high or too low, whatever, the car is still going to say it's a fault. You won't set anything off, but the car is still going to say you've got a fault, and you might move on to the next thing thinking, well, it can't be the wires, it can't be this, but it can be. So that's what's very, very important. Make sure you have the right resistors for your car, so you can actually put the light out, so you know exactly what the fault is. You're not chasing your tails. So look, very quick, easy and simple. So look, hope it helps. Please like, share, comment and subscribe, and don't forget, links up here, links down below, but most important, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.